Let's see. Now we have another question. For this one is from Tina in Washington. What legal document can I take with me to not comply with masks and upcoming vaccine? We need more doctors who will step out and help us when conventional doctors won't. Can we get a list of doctors who believe as you do and will fight for our rights? So that's an excellent question, and I would like to have a list of doctors like that, and that was really long, and I've thought about doing a project to maybe get some people together, so I'll have to get back to you on that. But I want to invite people to actually take some time and look at what the law actually says, because I think people have forgotten how our legal system works, that laws can only be passed by a legislature. And to my knowledge, there's been no state legislature that's passed any laws requiring masks or other types of measures to prevent spread of this pandemic. All I've seen was executive orders from a governor. And governors actually don't have authority over individuals. They only have authority over state agencies. And so in New York State, I've looked at this. And by the way, Peggy Hall is really a pioneer in this kind of research. And she has a website, thehealthyamerican.org, and also a YouTube channel. So I would definitely encourage you to check out some of her videos. And she has resources on her website, like in terms of the documents that you ask for, that can help educate people about this. But when I looked this up in New York State, what I found is that, yes, there were executive orders from the governor. And then I went to the health department website for the state. And they actually had a couple of different web pages, which were titled something like guidance, right, which means recommendation. And they referenced the executive order, and basically they were telling you how to interpret the executive order for the citizens, because the health department can regulate private individuals, right? Because they're the ones who carry out like the vaccine mandates for school, for example. And what they said, and this is true in other states as well, and most likely in your state, is essentially this is just a recommendation. And they put specific examples that exempt you from it. And in New York State, even though publicly when you listen to Governor Cuomo talk about it, he talks as if it's the law, it's not. And what they say is that you're exempt if you have a health condition that's impaired by wearing a mask, but also if wearing a mask would cause a health impairment, you don't have to wear it. And we know from the data that masks cause a health impairment in everyone. So in other words, what this document is saying is that you don't need to wear a mask. They have another guidance for employees, because there's a separate mandate for employees who deal with the public. And in there, it says something very similar. So I'm not sure what you're pointing out there. Oh, some death statistics. And in there,
just to show people that even their purported numbers don't match up to numbers of things that are happening every day, all day, forever. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. So yes. I'm trying to be productive back here while I'm letting you do your thing.
Thanks,
sorry, man.
So on that about employees, it basically says that, you know, it has to be in compliance with OSHA, which is the federal Department of Occupational Safe and Health Administration. And they have guidelines that require you to have a certain percentage of oxygen in the air you breathe while you work in order for it to be safe, which is 19.5%. Normally, the oxygen is about 21% in the atmosphere. But there have been several people, and you can find these going around Facebook and YouTube right now, where they've done an experiment and measured the air in front of their mouth with and without a mask. And you can see that in one experiment that I looked at recently, it dropped to about 17%. That's way below the OSHA standards. So basically, based on the OSHA standards, as an employee, you're at risk wearing a mask. So just based on that, you should have a legal argument that goes against any recommendation. And remember, these are not laws. They're not required by law. They are recommendations or guidance based on an executive order. So you just have to educate yourself on these matters. It's very important to know what you're talking about. And then you have to exert, stand up for yourself and exert your rights based on what they say, actually. And, you can't guarantee that someone is going to respect this, but you need to get this information out there, and you need to, stick up for yourself, even if you risk losing a job or losing something else. You will have a remedy, of course, but I think more and more people are going to learn about this and realize that this is actually the law. I mean, you can go in there with a printout right off the government website and say, look here, I'm not required to wear it. It'd be hard to turn away from that, if you were trying to enforce it. What do you think, Richie?
I just wanted to pipe in that the doctor's not just giving you advice that he doesn't follow. He literally did lose his job, which is why he's able to give us his time for not wearing a mask. So just FYI, he walks it like he talks it. So there's that.
Yeah, well, it's very important to use your own choices and your own behavior as a way to resist and go against what you feel is unfair and unjust. And that's really the only way that you can overcome it, is by our own individual choices. So that's my belief.